fully autonomous vehicle? Doable?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of when, not if, Apple comes out with the car. We thought 2024, 2025. If you look within Cupertino, autonomous full self-driving, that's really a big part of the technology that Cook's focused on. And we believe this could add $30 a share to the story in terms of from the sum of the parts. It's a $5 trillion market over the next decade. Apple is not going to look at this from the outside.
But your sense is that this is a company that has obviously never made a vehicle before, that they could get to fully autonomous vehicles basically as fast or faster than the others?
Well, I think they're very advanced when it comes to autonomous and FSD. And I think that's something underappreciated by investors. We also think right now there's a 65% chance that Apple does this alone in terms of a car. There's an 85% chance they do this with a partner, the likes potentially of a VW, a Ford, an EV player like a Lucid or others. So I think this is something it's going to really change the industry. Could be a watershed event, but we view this as really when, not if, Apple ultimately goes down this path.
So let's talk about the implications of that relative to this new price target you put on Tesla, $1,400. How do you get there?
Yeah, I mean, we view this as a $5 trillion green tidal wave. What's called Tesla, in our opinion, is going to have roughly about half that, $2.5 trillion. China continues to be the big thesis there, and that's on a 50K per month run rate. That's really the change here in terms of the price target. More and more bullish going into next year because of China. That upwards could be $400 a share to the story, which gets us to our $1,400 price target. Bull case is $1,800. Right now, bull bear, it's emotional right now because of the valuations, but we view this as sort of a golden age for EVs with Tesla leading the way.
Right. Dan, just unpack this for a second. When you talk about this $5 trillion opportunity, is that the idea? How do you get to the $5 trillion number? Let's start there.
Well, it's a conversion. Today, 3 million cars of 100 million are EVs. We think that ultimately goes to 50 to 60 million, as we get into the latter part of the decade. You look at that conversion opportunity plus the software services combined, that's 5 trillion based on our math. And that's, you look at GM, Ford, with all this sort of jump ball, what they're going after, it's that EV conversion I view as the biggest change to the auto industry since 1950s.
But you're still thinking this is just vehicles. This is not, you're not putting into your calculation solar or batteries or other things in terms of, for example, your Tesla calculation.
Oh, that would be just the additive. When we look at FSD, robo-taxis, and you start to get into some of those initiatives, that would be incremental. I'm just looking at what we see today in terms of overall EVs and where Tesla is.
Ford included, you mentioned Rivian and Lucid are on the screen right next to you right now. You want to own those stocks?
Yeah, well, look, I think and this gets to our point where some could say it's a bubble or expensive. I view it as just the early innings of a massive growth. I think these stocks, look at Lucid, that's sort of the next golden child of EV in terms of that vertical integration, how they're going at it. And then ultimately, when you look at some more and more of the EV-focused players like a Rivian, investors right now in the EV landscape, they're looking for the next Tesla. You're not going to find the next Tesla, but how else do you play what we view as that 2.5 of the 5 trillion that's not going to be owned by Tesla?
Do you think there's going to be consolidation in this space? Part of me looks at the valuation of a Rivian or looks at the valuation of a Lucid and says, you know what, maybe they should turn around and try to buy GM or Ford.
Well, I think right now GM and Ford, specifically GM, I think it's one of the more underappreciated stories in the market. I think it's a $100 bull case going into next year. That's a re-rating story from an EV perspective. So I don't view GM and Ford in a position where their backs against the wall. To some extent, I view it on the offensive. In terms of consolidation, I see more, as we're talking about Apple, technology and auto. There's a convergence there, software services. I think you could see a lot more consolidation going after this, especially on partnerships.
Okay. Dan Ives, always good to see you. Fascinating perspective on all of it. Have a great weekend. Thanks.
You too.
Coming up.